Yes. All right. So I have got a couple things to share with everybody and then just check in with all of you. Before we dive in, Grant, Bears, is there anything that you specifically want us to focus on today?
I'll have a couple things. I got a couple questions, but we can tack them on at the end.
Okay, that sounds good. And I'm just gonna check in with our Eng team about MP4s because I know that's one of the things that you were dealing with. Let me just do that for 1 second here.
And what about you, Bears? I know you were interested
Yeah,
in product roadmap.
yeah, I wanted just Trodio just to get a sense of what you're thinking, because there is one area that I feel should really be like up on the top, and that's when we're uploading PDF files, and when they have the graphs on the side or
Mm.
those images, it can't read it, and I feel like that's such a big part of what we want, and it's being left out.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, let me do this. I'm gonna bump that up to a higher priority. We did capture it when you mentioned it, I think, to Erica. And so we have it as a feature in our roadmap. I just bumped it up to a high priority. And for that one, Bears, I'm gonna need to talk to the engineering team. I'm gonna put it on our next stand up to figure out
Okay.
what kind of timing we need for this. But
Yeah.
I do have it noted. So thank you for that. Well, let's dive into some of the things that we've recently shipped.
Sure.
I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. So we now have a change log in our documentation where we're starting to put a lot more detail into what we've shipped. And so I want to share that first. That's here, it's public. And I'm just going to use this as an example. So you can see the date that we shipped it and you can see what it is. And so this is an example, and I'll actually show it to you, but we try to go into probably more detail than you necessarily need to know about it. But then we also try to explain it to me like I'm five, so that there's a very simple explanation. And then we talk a little bit about how it works. And so we're starting to get to this where we can give you a way to see what we're shipping in real time. And so this exists in our documentation now. To show this to you, have either of you tried using this yet?
No.
All right. So it's pretty easy when you click to upload a file. Now there's an option for from a website. And you can put in a web URL here and we will ingest the content of that website. Now, things that we're not doing yet, if the website has multiple levels of depth to it, we're not yet crawling the entire site, but that is coming. That's one thing that is coming. Another thing is when the website updates, we're not yet re-ingesting it. But that is another request that we've had. It's like, hey, I'm going to point you to a site. I want to know every time it changes, and I want you to rerun a prompt around that every time the site changes. And so that can be really great for keeping track of a competitor and how they're pitching their product as compared to yours or whatever. So that is work that is coming, but you should be able to now.
That's cool. Hey, Jody, will that be an option on a per site level? Meaning I could picture capturing website information and having it persisted even when it did change versus tracking the updates.
Yeah, well, so we're just scoping this feature out now, so maybe you can tell us how you'd like it to work. We were imagining that you might have some options when you're entering a website link, like crawl the whole thing, auto update it when it changes, etc. So Grant, how would you like it to work?
I think I'd like the option because sometimes I'll put stuff in, and this is the record by which I need to reflect whatever against, knowing that it's now sort of baked into the analysis, and I don't want to change my analysis. And it was based on this sort of intractable record, and so I'll need a record of that. The other thing would be, I don't want to call it like an ersatz wayback machine, but like in my industry, a lot of the information changes a lot of the time, and a lot of the positioning changes a lot of the time. And it would be good to have a record of what it was back in the day versus what it is now, but still maintain what was on that within that HTML record, a year ago. So these are sort of corner cases, but I could see both being applicable.
Okay, so I am just taking some notes here. So you like the ability to decide if it auto updates, and if yes, you would like a record of the previous version.
Now, I don't know if I need a record if I'm telling it to update. It's either I want to maintain that old record or I'm willing to be dynamically updated with whatever that live link is.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's helpful. Any other asks around this that come to mind?
Nothing I can think of.
Okay.
Cool.
After I just show you the things that we've shipped, it'd be great to have one of you try it and just give us feedback as you use it.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So that is one thing. And Stephen, thanks for joining. I wanted to share that on our documentation now, we are starting to share details about what we're shipping as it goes out. So this is the web scraper that we're in now. And I was just mentioning to Barrage and Grant that there's a bunch of detail. There's a summary. We're actually using Storytell to pull all this from the linear tickets. Okay. So another thing that we have recently shipped that we haven't gotten in here yet is the ability to work with CSV files. And Grant specifically wanted to share this with you. I don't know if you've tried testing this yet. I want to explain. Oh, okay. So I know that you work with a lot of CSVs. So let me just describe what generally makes it hard for large language models to work with CSVs. So if you look at this data, 15.94, the data that's around it doesn't really mean a lot to the large language model, right? And so traditionally, when you upload a CSV, it gets confused because it's trying to get context based on the data that's around it. What we are doing is we are turning that into a sentence based on the entire row. Let me actually find the example. So here is a sentence, right? Titan is an icy celestial body located at NA AU from the sun with an orbital period of 15.94 years. So you can see that everything in quotes here actually came from a value here. We can see Titan is an icy NA body that's 15 orbital years in the diameter here. So this entire row, we're basically turning into a sentence. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That sentence is now a story tile that can be referenced in giving answers. So when I ask what's the orbital period of Titan, the LLM can answer. So we are doing this for the first 1,000 rows of a CSV file. It doesn't matter how many columns you have. It's the first 1,000 rows. We can also bump this up to 10,000 rows. It's, it gets a little expensive for us, but so we thought 1,000 was a reasonable starting point. But we'd love to know if you need it to be, more, and we can work with that. It works well for CSVs that have headers, right? So it's got a header like row and column. It doesn't work as well. So Bears, we're testing it with some of the BET CSVs, which are like a bunch of survey data. Shelby's actually working on that right now, where the CSV is really just like a bunch of survey questions that were answered, but doesn't actually have like header rows.
Yeah.
So that is more complex. That's coming, but it'd be great to have you all test this with CSV since you both use them.
Yep.
So that's another thing that we've just shipped. Let me share this page with you as well.
Jody, I have a question. When you have the header, sometimes so the header is in row 1, right? And I don't know if you remember when we had access to Nielsen data and we would pull the information, you would see multiple lines or rows because the header would be like 3 or 4, because it would be national ratings, 18 to 49, whatever, can it read that now, or is that going to be probably upcoming, right?
So I mean, the thing about CSVs is like, just like snowflakes, like every CSV can be different, right? So
Yeah.
we're not sure yet how much surface area this can cover. I
Yeah.
think that it could actually work, because what we're doing is we're actually sending the CSV to the large language model and asking it to decipher, hey, what is the header in this thing? And
Yeah.
then we're using that to then create the story tiles. All right, Bears, do you want to pop yours back up?
Uh, yeah. Okay. So I put this in here, but why is it saying 50% sample file?
It's sampling the file right now. Let's give it, let me just grab
Yeah.
this. I think it's still working. We're not doing a great job of updating you as a user about the status.
Yeah. Just so you know, I was playing around with it earlier today because I wanted to do something on, you know how last week we were talking about we had a bunch of PDF files and we can upload it and get an analysis. So I tried doing it for this one, and it just was going around in circles and circles, and it failed. And I wanted just to share it with you because I wasn't sure what to do, and it wasn't that big of a file.
So that was today that you tried?
Yeah, today.
Okay. Hey, Lex, so Bears, if you can hit the question mark up at the very top next to the B next to your name and hit submit feedback.
Submit feedback.
Oh yeah, just feedback, and then just say eMarketer PDF failed.
Upload of PDF failed.
Yeah. And then I'm going to mention you, Bears, in Slack. Bears, can you please share the PDF that failed?
Yep.
That failed. Okay, all right. So let me just summarize what I'm seeing here. Number one, we're having some file upload issues. So Bears, if you can share the files, I already pinged Shelby about that. That's one. It looks like for you, Grant, it is understanding the data. It does look like it's understanding the data. It is not necessarily, it might be the case that it's doing the math wrong. We're not quite sure yet. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sort of pull. It's 42, 486. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out where it's pulling some stuff from, but that sounds like a pretty safe assessment.
Okay. All right. I also so thanks for helping us understand this. I would wonder, Grant, I know that you do a lot of like proposal creation using a mix of source content. So what should be true is that now that we can turn CSV rows into story tiles, and it looks like it is understanding that data, which is great. I would wonder if not necessarily you doing math, but you pulling that data in to then start to create narrative.
Contextualize.
Yeah, I would just wonder if you get value from that. So to the extent that you're able to try that, let us know what value.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I also wanted to share, we recently became HIPAA compliant. I don't know that that'll matter to either of you, but just letting you know. Or Grant, does that matter to you?
No, but good for you. I mean, it's a whole
Oh.
industry that's
Yeah.
I don't want to touch. So good job.
Yeah. GDPR is next. So we'll have SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR. So thank you, Erica, for pushing those forward. And then we also have a couple big features that we are going to be shipping in the next couple days that I just wanted to make you aware of. So I'm going to share my screen again. So Bears, this is largely driven by some of the Paramount onboarding. So tomorrow we're shipping collection management, the ability to rename, delete, and move collections around, as well as asset management, the ability to rename and delete assets, as well as thread management, the ability to rename and delete threads. And then on Monday is the invitation system. So being able to generate and send invites to the organization via shareable links. And then the ability to enable new collaborators to support account creation into the org, to grant access to shared collections, and a few other things here. Stephen, I know that you were asking about this earlier, and I don't know if we still have you here. Maybe not. So at any rate, I know this was important to Stephen. But anyway, that's coming soon. Any thoughts or questions there? Anything you want to talk about around those?
No.
Okay. And then in terms of the roadmap, I'm just going to show you our, this is from our actual system. So we've got our backlog, blocked, planned, and in progress. So I just talked about some of the in progress items. In terms of planned, dynamic smart chats and integrations are the two that I think that you'll care about. So dynamic smart chats is auto updating answers when data changes. So you can ask a question, and then when the data changes, it'll auto update the answer. And then integrations is integrating with things like Google Drive and other, we're going to probably do Google Drive first, but you don't have to upload files.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Some of the other things that will be coming is enhancing the question library, being able to filter through, search and filter through the platform. Those are probably two of the ones that I've heard from, I don't know if the two of you necessarily, but users being able to use the question library more successfully. And then we're also going to be deepening the web scraper that we just talked about. Is there anything about this roadmap that you want to share any feedback around?
The Google Drive one's interesting in that, yeah, it just like our organization be the way such that everything gets backed up to Drive, and it starts to look a lot like your desktop with all of your file folders, such that I could just point to the Drive without having to manually upload anything. To me, that's very interesting.
Yep. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. And we've got, you would like connect to Google Drive here and okay. All right. Well, I know we're over time, so I'm going to propose that we stop there. Pending Grant or Bears, anything you didn't get to share that you had on your minds, which I'm happy to stay on for.
I just wanted
to go ahead, Serge.
Just one quick thing, and I don't remember. You might have said it, Jody. I might have missed it. Part of the thing that we were looking for is once we have the summary, once we have like the product, the PDF or these Excels, we were talking about how we can upload it and ask Storytell to create a PowerPoint. Was that part of the roadmap or something you're thinking of, to create a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, we've got getting data out of Storytell effectively, and that is exactly, I'll share again. So getting data out of Storytell, and then the one that we specifically have is PowerPoint. So yes.
Okay.